The Nightbeat starts right now.
It's business as usual for people up and down the coast right now, but that could all change very soon. 121 Texas counties are under disaster declarations as we prepare for Beryl's impact. The once hurricane weakened into a tropical storm after ravaging Jamaica and the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. Now it's coming for the Texas coast, and we're expecting it to strengthen back into a Category 1 hurricane by the time it makes landfall. The KSAT Weather Authority team has been tracking the storm for a week. Mia, what's the latest on what we can expect from Beryl?
Well, Tiffany, the biggest thing that we're still monitoring tonight and what we're really going to be keeping tabs on into tomorrow is how far east does Beryl go as it starts to approach the Texas Gulf coastline and then move inland after making landfall early Monday morning. We could see rain for the eastern parts of our area especially, but for us here in San Antonio, if we see more of an eastward track, I do want to prepare you for the potential to not see nearly as much rain as what the eastern portions of the region could find by the time all is said and done. Beryl is still expected to make landfall potentially as a Category 1 hurricane near Matagorda Bay early Monday morning, potentially before the sun even comes up. You can see that the center of that path is still expected to pass well east of the Alamo City, which means the bulk of the heavier rain will fall closer to places like Houston, Beaumont, and College Station. So again, a lot to still monitor here over the next couple of days. But what we do know is that parts of the Texas coast are going to be the ones to see more of the direct impacts from Beryl. So meteorologist Justin Horn is live from Rockport tonight as people start to make those preparations. How are things looking down there, Justin?
Hey there, Mia. A lot of preparations actually being made. It's pretty incredible to watch. A lot of windows being boarded up. I don't think anyone's taking any chances this go round. We've seen lots of businesses put up those boards. We've seen lots of homeowners doing that. And I think part of it, Mia, is because of Harvey. Yeah, it was 7 years ago, but it's still fresh on a lot of people's minds here. And we spent the afternoon with one family who was making some preparations, and that was the Bukta family. We talked to them as they boarded up their windows, and they made sure their house was shored up because they were nervous about the impact that Beryl would have. This is not their first rodeo. Just recently, Alberto surge was enough to take out their pier, and of course, it was 7 years ago when this home took on significant damage. In fact, the family was just recently finishing their repairs that Harvey left behind, if you can believe that, including a collapsed roof, broken window, and flood damage.
Obviously, Hurricane Harvey, August 2017, was pretty catastrophic for this whole area. So a lot of lessons learned from that hurricane and applying that to this one.
And several residents here tell us that Harvey is still fresh on their mind, as I said, and that experience is dictating how they react to Beryl. Despite likely being a weaker storm, residents here remember how quickly Harvey strengthened in the Gulf. And again, they're just not taking any chances, and that's probably a good idea. We talked to a lot of people here on the beach a little bit earlier too that said they're headed home. They're headed home tomorrow. They're going to get out of the way of this thing, and that's a great action to take. I also wanted to mention, we talked to some folks who got married on the beach tonight. They had to change their plans completely because of Hurricane Beryl. We're going to bring you that story coming up tomorrow. Reporting live in Rockport, Justin Horn, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you so much, Justin. We're definitely looking forward to that story, plus more of what you find down there on the coast tomorrow. And just a reminder, we're here with you now. We're still going to be with you before, during, and after Beryl makes landfall on the Texas Gulf coastline. That includes more live coverage from Justin and from all those coastal areas tomorrow and into Monday.
Thank you, Mia. Now, severe storms like Beryl bring the possibility of evacuations. So far, only Refugio County has issued a mandatory evacuation. The night team's Zaria Oates spoke with the Refugio County judge about what went into that decision.
No reason to panic. It's no reason to be alarmed.
Ahead of Beryl's landfall on Texas, Refugio County is ordering mandatory evacuations for residents. Tropical storm Beryl is expected to impact counties along the Texas coast as early as Sunday. Refugio County Judge Gila Pointer says the county is preparing to bus any residents who need help leaving, but they'll be heading to Laredo, nearly 3 hours away.
That is what is available to us. You know, we have very limited capacity as it is. And whether or not there's an evacuation order, we do have a lot of individuals who are going to leave town. And once they start doing that and taking their families with them, we lose a lot of our capacity to operate and function and provide things like emergency services.
This mandatory evacuation comes while the county still deals with the fallout of Hurricane Harvey from back in 2017. And the order is aimed at preventing long-term issues the county could face after Beryl's impact.
We are coastal and we are small and we do not have the capacity to shelter, which means if something were to happen to that person who is deciding to stay home, we do not have the ability to house them.
Buses will leave the County Expo Center just after 7 a.m. Sunday morning to transport anyone in Refugio County to Laredo. Zoria Oates, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Zaria. Now, the Refugio County Emergency Management is offering assistance to anyone that doesn't have transportation to the Expo Center Sunday morning. If you or someone you know needs that number, it's 361-526-2820. It's also posted on our website, ksat.com. And while people living in Refugio County are under mandatory evacuations, several more counties along the coast are issuing voluntary evacuations and mandatory evacuations for visitors. Leaders in Aransas, Brazoria, Calhoun, Jackson, Kennedy, Clayburgh, Matagorda, Nueces, and San Patricio counties have issued voluntary evacuation notices. Also in Nueces County, people visiting have been ordered to evacuate by tomorrow at noon. Now, this list is posted on our website and will be updating. So if you have any more information about this, go to our website, but we are going to be keeping tabs on this evacuation order at this time. Now, San Antonio's position in Texas makes it a key player when it comes to evacuations. Bexar County and city leaders have been preparing for hurricane season for months, but have really been in overdrive since Beryl popped up on weather radars. The entire Gulf Coast looks to San Antonio for help in emergencies, and if necessary, it is ready to help when Beryl makes landfall. Now, to see more about this, right now you can see it in San Antonio. Prepare for the potential onslaught of people evacuating the coast. Scan that QR code at the bottom of the corner of your screen. And while some are leaving the coast, others are heading there to help. The Salvation Army is sending 3 trucks from San Antonio and New Braunfels, and they aren't sure where they're heading yet. Now, but they do know that they'll help feed thousands of families and first responders. Our Daniela Ibarra caught up with them as they made some last-minute preps.
The iconic red shield symbolizes the Salvation Army's values. For families and first responders in Beryl's path, Emergency Services Manager Amanda Bishop Garcia hopes it helps make people feel safe.
How do you prepare for something like this?
Prayer, patience, and checklist.
That checklist has been getting things crossed off it all day. They're loading up these trucks to take them somewhere along the coast.
What are you expecting once you get there?
You can't expect anything. There's nothing to expect. You go in with an open mind and you go in prepared for anything that could happen that you could see. The goal is to provide hope for people when they may not have any more hope to provide that they need.
You can see this is just like a kitchen that you would find anywhere else, a food truck kitchen.
Brad Mahar with the Salvation Army says the truck will be out being used for about a week.
We have some supplies here, a few, some non-perishable items already here too.
All tools used by staff and volunteers to make around 1,500 meals a day. And warm food isn't the only thing they're serving.
We can provide pastoral care for those who are hurting if they experience significant losses to their home and their property, or even our first responders. I mean, they're putting in long hours, they're making sacrifices, they're away from their families.
Sacrifices turned into service to shield others from pain.
It's in my blood somehow.
Daniela Ibarra, KSAT 12 News.
Now, you can stay on top of this storm with KSAT on air and online. Just scan the QR code right there on your screen. Just go straight to KSAT weather page. We'll show you what we're covering before, during, and after Beryl hits Texas. And why is squatting such a challenging issue to deal with? You might have seen recent social media videos about this topic. It's been blowing up online. In a new KSAT Explains, we look at what laws exist in Texas when it comes to squatting and why it's such a challenge for law enforcement to deal with.
He had called me frantically complaining about how his electric bill quadrupled.
KSAT Explains squatting is coming up at 10:30. Not backing down, that's what President Biden says he's going to do amid calls from him to drop out of the race for the White House, why he believes he's still the man for the job. Next on the Nightbeat. Welcome back. President Biden sitting down for his first television interview since his controversial debate performance. The president staying defiant, saying he is not dropping out of the race. But as ABC's Perry Russom reports, some Democratic lawmakers and donors are calling for the president to do just that.
President Biden sitting down for an exclusive TV interview with ABC's George Stephanopoulos, his first since his poor performance in the presidential debate.
But your friend Nancy Pelosi actually framed the question that I think is on the minds of millions of Americans. Was this a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It was a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
The president pressed on whether he's fit to serve another term.
Do you have the mental and physical capacity to do it for another 4 years?
I believe so. I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I did. Look, I'm running again because I think I understand best what has to be done to take this nation to a completely new level.
There is growing panic in the Democratic Party. ABC's Rachel Bay describing some of the text messages she received during the interview.
He's done. Pack it in. One member texted my colleague that we've got a mad king here. I mean, no, this didn't calm the waters is the short answer. But I do think a lot of Democrats were actually shocked by the state of denial that Joe Biden is in right now.
Do you really believe you're not behind right now?
I think it's all the pollsters I talk to tell me it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up.
A source tells ABC News a group of donors is working to raise as much as $100 million to support a candidate to replace Biden. Netflix co-founder Reed Hastings, a major Democratic donor, saying after the interview the president is unfortunately in denial about his mental state. Biden says he's determined to stay in the race.
I don't think anybody's more qualified to be president or win this race than me.
The Biden team calling the interview strong and solid. That optimistic spin from the White House has some Democrats concerned his inner circle is shielding him from reality. Perry Russom, ABC News, Washington.
All right, back here at home, let's take a look outside with live cam. 76 beautiful degrees here in San Antonio. We had some scattered rain and a few thunderstorms push across portions of Bexar County and even parts of South Central Texas, surrounding communities to San Antonio as well. It wasn't for everybody, but at least it was something. And we'll talk about some of those rainfall totals a little bit later on, but I do want to get you to, again, the latest as we continue to monitor what is still Tropical Storm Beryl as the system pushes through the western Gulf of Mexico. Hurricane warnings now in place for places like Bay City all the way down to the Corpus Christi area. Hurricane watches farther south near Brownsville, and even farther inland, we've seen a few tropical storm warnings be issued for our viewing area. That does include DeWitt and Lavaca County. So if you did happen to get a notification on your phone of that alert, that's what that is about. But again, the more direct impacts are going to be felt along portions of the Texas Gulf coastline. Heavy rain expected as Beryl does approach the coast, as well as some storm surge, strong winds, and rip currents, all starting late tomorrow. And again, even more so by Monday as we see that system start to move inland. So here's the latest advisory, brand new, hot off the presses that just came in from the National Hurricane Center at the top of the hour. Still a tropical storm with winds of about 60 miles per hour. It is working its way farther up to the northwest at about 13 miles per hour. Here's the latest track issued as well as it continues to churn over the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Beryl is expected to re-intensify into a Category 1 hurricane by tomorrow evening. Notice here with the latest forecast track, and I have also overlaid our future cast as well, depicting what the rain associated with this system could look like as Beryl does start to move inland again. It is expected to make landfall near Matagorda Bay as of right now, early Monday morning, maybe even before sunrise. If this current path verifies, notice where all of the heavy rain is. It is well east of San Antonio. So I do think our far eastern counties, for places like Hallettsville, Gonzales, even Cuero, could still tap into more of those impressive rainfall totals, but the farther west that you go, it's not looking to be so great. And this storm will continue to weaken as it moves inland throughout the day on Monday. So as of the current track, that means not much rain, unfortunately, for us here in the Alamo City. I do still think we could tap into some breezy winds throughout the day on Monday. Is it possible that we see another wobble in the center of where Beryl is right now and where it will be in the next 24 hours? Sure, that's possible. So if Beryl were to move just a matter of miles farther off to the west, that means that we could see more rain here locally and potentially some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts in San Antonio. But again, as of right now, that's not looking to be the case. If Beryl does move even farther east, potentially no rain for us here in town, and temperatures would be a little bit warmer. So here's what we're looking at. Monday through about 4 p.m., 15 to 25-mile-per-hour winds possible here in town. A few gusts upwards of 40, not off the table. This may be a little generous. Rainfall, possibly less than just half of an inch. So trends still very, very important to watch here in terms of where exactly the center of Beryl goes, because that's going to make or break rain chances here in San Antonio. But again, our far eastern counties, the better chances of finding more of that rain and even some winds. Gusts upwards of 70 miles per hour still certainly possible for places like Gonzales, Shiner, Hallettsville, and Cuero, and rainfall totals upwards of 3 to 4 inches, pockets of 5 to 10. So still a lot to keep tabs on. We will continue to keep you posted throughout the day tomorrow and even into Monday. After that, Tiff, we'll start to see those rain chances come down and temperatures back up in the mid-90s. More to come in the next half hour, including rainfall totals from this evening's storms.
Thank you, Mia. Now, all right, Nick, the newest San Antonio Spurs got some time to shine tonight.
Yeah, it was an exciting night for the Spurs draft picks and their first summer league, as well as Spurs fans. We had some breaking news we're going to tell you about a new addition to the Spurs roster. Plus, one of San Antonio's own and best wide receivers made a decision today as to where he's going to play his college ball. So stay with us to find out where he's going right after the break. Before we get to the Spurs Summer League highlights, we had some breaking news that came in just before the broadcast. According to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, the Sacramento Kings have agreed to a sign-in trade with the San Antonio Spurs and the Chicago Bulls, which means that deals DeMar DeRozan to the Kings, sends Chris Duarte to the Bulls, and brings Harrison Barnes to San Antonio. If this deal is confirmed, NBA champion Harrison Barnes will join the young Spurs roster to bring in some more experience to the guard position. Barnes averaged 12 points and 3 rebounds for Sacramento last season, and will be a big boost to adding another piece around Victor Wembanyama. All right, now to the California Classic. The newest Spurs players taking on the Charlotte Hornets out in the home of the Sacramento Kings. Spurs' 4th pick in the draft, Stephon Castle, who gets his first professional bucket with a floater in the lane. The Hornets controlled most of this game, but Jameer Nelson Jr. was still fighting, getting into the lane and getting the tough basket to fall, plus a trip to the line. And just before halftime, Stephon Castle goes ahead and shoots a 3 from the logo and nails it. The rookie showing that he's got big boy range. Castle finished with a team high 12 points. Then in the third, Nick Smith Jr. with a spin move and a floater over Castle for 2 of his 10 points. Then the exclamation point for Charlotte. Mohamedou Gueye with a slam as the Spurs lose this one 97-65. The next game for this young squad will be tomorrow night at 9 p.m. local time, taking on the Sacramento Kings. Some Spurs roster news broke this afternoon. Spurs guard Devontae Graham was traded to the Charlotte Hornets. Along with Graham, the Spurs sent a 2025 second-round pick, and in return, the Spurs got cash considerations. Graham spent a little over a season with the Spurs, averaging 9 points, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds in 43 games. Now, Hornets have a plan to waive Graham, allowing him to become a free agent. All right, I know we just celebrated the 4th of July and you still want to enjoy your summer, but I'm just making sure the Houston Texans fans know that we are 28 days away from Andre Johnson's induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The current Texans plan to be there as well. They're going to play against the Chicago Bears in the Hall of Fame game. And when we were at training camp last month, defensive end Will Anderson told us that the defensive side of the ball has a lot of potential this upcoming season.
Yeah, I think it's a special thing that we got going on here on defense, man. And it's been such a blessing to be a part of this group already. Just the togetherness of the D-line, togetherness of the defense. It's been really special, man. Aziz, he's really been taking charge, man. He's been, challenging all of us just to come out and give effort every day. Getting your playbook, know your job, know your responsibility, and holding people accountable. And that's what you need in the middle of a defense.
The Texans offense and C.J. Stroud will look to surpass his 4,000-yard and 23-touchdown rookie season when the regular season kicks off on September 8th on the road against the Indianapolis Colts. Now to a San Antonio wide receiver who has the potential to be playing in the NFL someday. Steele's Jalen Cooper decided that he's going to take his talents up to Dallas, committing to SMU last night. The four-star wideout had offers from schools all over the country, including Texas A&M, Baylor, and Kansas. Cooper will have one more year this upcoming fall to try to take Steele into another deep run into the playoffs before he heads up to Dallas to become an SMU Mustang. So a lot of really cool stuff going on with our local kids here, Tiffany.
Yeah, and Nick, I just want to tell you, I really enjoyed your Spurs rookie Harrison Ingram interview this week. It was awesome. I loved his personality, and you all just talked about so many different things.
I appreciate that. No, we have a good time with the Spurs. It's a fun time.
All right, thanks, Nick. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Squatting has been a trending topic lately, getting a ton of attention online, and it's a tough one because there's a lot of legal gray area. There aren't laws in Texas that prohibit squatting specifically, so what can be done about it? Here's KSAT Explains.
What is squatting?
Well, squatting is a term that I think has multiple meanings to multiple people.
But perhaps the definition that most of us think of when someone moves into a home that is not theirs and begins to claim it as their own. And then, to make that unsettling idea worse, there's nothing a homeowner can do about it. But is that accurate? First, let's go back, way back. The idea of squatting can be traced to medieval England. Here in the U.S., the practice is linked to several major points in history: the California Gold Rush, the Great Depression, World War II. Today, the renewed concern over squatting may have a link to part of American history that we're witnessing in real time: the border crisis. A TikTok video from a so-called migrant influencer went viral in the spring of 2024. It's since been removed from the creator's account, but it showed a Venezuelan man telling people they can come to the U.S., move into a home, and claim squatters' rights in order to stay. In Texas, squatters' rights don't really exist. There's nothing on the books that spells them out. There is something called adverse possession.
It's a concept in the law that dates back in our common law to England. It actually predates the founding of the United States. So let's say we've got two farmers who work land side by side, and there's a patch out in the far reaches of their land. And Farmer A starts to go over onto the other side of Farmer B's land, maybe accidentally at first, and maybe they're not quite sure where the boundaries are. And they start growing. Farmer A starts growing crops in Farmer B's land. After 10 years, Farmer A could actually make a claim to make that patch of land that was Farmer B's their own.
But that's only after those 10 years have passed.
We were first introduced to our most egregious squatting complaint during COVID.
Precinct 4 Bexar County Constable Catherine Brown remembers that squatting call well.
He had called me frantically complaining about how his electric bill quadrupled. They saw an electric cord from his power outlet outside in the back of his church over the fence into a vacant home with squatters in it, stealing his electricity.
KSAT covered this story in March of 2023. The East Side home was supposed to be vacant and owned by Bexar County at the time. Eventually, the city's dangerous assessment response team did an inspection, said the people inside had no right to be there, and the house was unsafe. Court records showed the man living there filed a lawsuit claiming the property was his and had done the same thing with another home on the west side. The previous owner of that east side house had passed away. Brown says her office got the squatters out because of that power cord.
In that case, the issue from a law enforcement perspective, you all were able to say this is trespassing.
That is correct.
Okay.
Because there was nobody to actually evict them. If you suspect that there's a vacant home of a good friend that you know that perhaps passed away or something, and you know that the family they don't live nowhere close by, who do you call to say, I think I have a possible squatter living next to me?
I'm guessing people would call law enforcement. That would be the first stop.
And what could we do if they're not breaking the law?
How is staying in a place that you do not own and do not have a lease for, how is that not against the law?
Isn't that crazy? And what is our right as law enforcement to question you to produce a lease if you're not doing anything that's breaking the law?
That's what makes this issue of squatting tough for law enforcement to deal with. There must be a law broken for officers to address it. Precinct 4 doesn't keep track of the squatting reports it receives. San Antonio police don't either. Despite a lack of hard numbers,
we're going to get legislation put together that will come take these properties back from squatters.
Texas lawmakers are taking notice. A Senate committee hearing in May of 2024 looked at squatting across the state and heard testimony from homeowners who've been there.
Told a handyman, hey, don't come to the house. I'm going to be out of town for about 2 or 3 weeks. He broke into my home. I called the police and they said, how long has he been there? And I said, I've been gone about 2 weeks. And they said, well, this is a civil matter. You'll have to go to court.
Boyette testified it took 7 months to get the squatter out. Suspected squatting cases can cross into a complicated area of landlord-tenant law, especially if at one point the person was allowed to be in the home. Let's say a contractor was allowed to stay at a house while making repairs, or a guest was allowed to live there for a short time. Current law could view that person as a tenant, so homeowners might have to evict.
So if you stay beyond that agreement, why can't somebody just easily kick you out?
I think a lot of these depend on the facts, the specific facts, and for how long someone has been staying there. So if they have stayed there past a month, even if you only rented it for 2 weeks, and they stretched out there, it is possible that the person who's still staying there, they've breached their contract, almost certainly. They are subject to removal, almost certainly, but they might be able to claim, possibly defensively, possibly not, that they're entitled to the protections of landlord-tenant law, which require an eviction rather than a summary removal from law enforcement.
Texas law requires at least a 3-day notice before someone can be evicted. Then an owner can file an eviction lawsuit. Those cases are typically heard between 10 and 21 days after a suit is filed. So with the laws that exist or don't exist in Texas, what can you do to try to protect yourself?
The burden does fall on property owners, but to be really cautious and careful about the agreements they enter into.
And remember, some agreements can be verbal, whether you intended to make one or not when inviting someone into your home. So put everything in writing, include start and end dates. And if you have a vacant home or a second property, make sure you check on it regularly.
There seems to be a correlation for the longer that a person is living someplace, the less likely that law enforcement will be likely to come in and remove them.
While legislators are looking at ways to change laws, there are concerns about unintended consequences.
Putting these new provisions into place might invite abuse by someone who claims to be the true owner who is not. How is it going to affect a short-term renter?
Outside of the generally applicable laws against trespass, burglary, property destruction, and then the eviction process, there's nothing that really covers this fairly narrow area.
You can watch any KSAT Explained story on demand by scanning this QR code or go to KSAT.com or the KSAT YouTube channel. And if there's something you want to see explained, let us know on our website. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going to head back outside with live cam here. 75 now in San Antonio. Rain-cooled arrows. Taking a look at some of our TransGuide cameras as well. And some of those roadways still a little soggy after we saw some scattered rain and a couple of thunderstorms push through. Right now, a lot of what's left out there continues to fizzle, especially in southern Bexar County and points farther off to the south. We'll talk about rainfall totals coming up in about 5 minutes. Tomorrow, just hot. 20% chance for an isolated shower or storm as we monitor Beryl. It is expected to make landfall early Monday near Matagorda Bay. For San Antonio, the heavier rain looks to be found well east of us, but we could still find some breezy to gusty winds. Another full check at that forecast coming up after this.
Heavy rain is what led to this in Seguin this evening. Residents near Nelda Street, Walnut Creek, and Vaughn Street saw water levels rise quick after tonight's big rainfall. South Guadalupe, Nelda, William, and Jones Street in Seguin are all closed because of flooding, as well as River Oak Drive near FM 725. Now, Mia, it looks like several inches of rain fell in some parts of Seguin.
Yep, absolutely. And in a small amount of time, just a matter of a couple of hours. So that, of course, can lead to a few instances of street flooding, especially where we have some of those low-lying areas, poor drainage areas. Let's talk about some of those rainfall totals estimated here from your authority radar. Over the past 12 hours, near and just south of Seguin, about 4.5 inches of rain estimated. So yes, that could lead to some instances of flooding like what you just saw near Floresville, really south of Floresville and Poth. A few pockets of 2 to 4 inches were recorded. Eastern Wilson County, north of Stockdale, about 2.5 inches of rain. Closer to San Antonio, the farther north and west that you went, unfortunately not a lot of rain fell today. The better totals were across the southern and eastern portions of the county. Near China Grove, just over half of an inch. Schertz, about an inch of rain, so that's good as well. Here in downtown, close to KSAT as well, over an inch of rain. Southwestern portions of Bexar County, over 2 inches in a little pocket just south of Highway 90. A lot of that activity is now coming to an end. Nothing was severe, but yes, we did have some heavy rainfall associated with those downpours and also the outflow boundaries coming out of those storms. Some of that rain-cooled air racing out, that also did kick up some gusty winds that we saw out there today as well. But you can see for the most part, a lot of that rain starting to fizzle out across Wilson County, southeast of San Antonio. A few isolated storms starting to be put to bed near Lytle and right along the Atascosa-Frio County line. As we look ahead to the upcoming next couple of days, a 20% chance for just an isolated shower or storm in the works tomorrow. Sunday is looking to be pretty dry and also hot into the afternoon, a high around 98. I did go ahead and bring, unfortunately, our rain chance down to about a 40% potential on Monday because it is still looking like the center of what is Tropical Storm Beryl is still going to pass well east of San Antonio, which means our rain chances and as a result rain totals do not look to be nearly as impressive as what southeast Texas is looking to find over the next couple of days. So again, here's the latest on Beryl. Winds at 60 miles per hour. It is still a tropical storm working farther up to the northwest tonight. Take a look at the water temperatures, though, in the Western Gulf in the mid-80s. So that is definitely favorable and could help Beryl strengthen into a Category 1 hurricane before tomorrow evening as it starts to turn farther up to the north. It is expected to make landfall near Matagorda Bay early Monday morning, potentially as that Category 1 hurricane before passing well east of San Antonio. Right now, the latest forecast track from the National Hurricane Center does bring the center of that path in between the Alamo City as well as Houston. And where we find the bulk of that rain with these tropical systems is near and east of the center of circulation. So the best chance of finding more beneficial rainfall are far eastern counties. Lavaca as well as DeWitt counties currently under a flood watch through 7 a.m. Tuesday. Again, 3 to 4 inches possible, localized higher pockets, which means if that comes to pass, we will need to monitor for some flooding to creeks, streams, and low water crossings. inches. We are not looking at that right now in San Antonio. Again, we'll be lucky if we see half of an inch as of right now. Still a few wobbles possible. The latest tomorrow morning on GMSA. Tiff.
All right, thank you, Mia. Now, Nick, the San Antonio Spurs picked up another big name.
Yeah, Tiffany, just before the broadcast, the news broke that Harrison Barnes will be coming to San Antonio as part of a sign-in trade with 2 other teams. We're going to break down the details for you. Plus, Texas Rangers are starting to show some more promise after a bleak end to June that included a losing streak. We're going to show you what happened against the Tampa Bay Rays this afternoon when we come back. Well, you can always count on this time of year for some breaking news in the NBA just before our broadcast. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted out that the Sacramento Kings have agreed to a sign-in trade with the San Antonio Spurs and the Chicago Bulls, which deals DeMar DeRozan to the Kings, sends Chris Duarte to the Bulls, and brings Harrison Barnes to San Antonio. If this deal is confirmed, NBA champion Harrison Barnes will join the young Spurs roster to bring some more experience to the guard position. Barnes averaged 12 points, 3 rebounds for the Sacramento Kings last season and will be a big boost to adding some more pieces around Victor Wembanyama. All right, well, speaking of the Spurs, the Summer League roster saw its first action this evening against the Charlotte Hornets. All eyes were on Stephon Castle, who got his first professional bucket with a floater in the lane. Then just before the half, Castle from the logo, nothing but nylon. The rookie showing out with a team-high 12 points, but the Hornets controlled all of this one. Nick Smith Jr. with a spin move and a floater over Castle as the Spurs lose this one 97-65. The next game for this squad will be tomorrow night, 9 p.m. local time against the Sacramento Kings.
Jones has it. 5 seconds to go. Devontae Graham.
The hero of the final game of the regular season will no longer be a San Antonio Spur. The news broke this afternoon that the Spurs have traded Devontae Graham and a 2025 second-round pick to the Charlotte Hornets. The Spurs got cash considerations for the trade. Graham spent a little over a season with the Spurs, averaging 9 points, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds in just 43 games. Over on the diamond, where the Texas Rangers were looking for another big win after a rough end to June, where they had a 6-game losing streak. Getting it started with some small ball was Andrew Kisner with an RBI single on the very next inning. Nathaniel Lowe's turn, and he chops one into shallow center. That's plenty of time for Marcus Semien to come home from third to make it a 2-0 ball game. But the Rays would take a lead late. And so Semien took some action, launches this ball for his 2-run homer and 12th of the season as the Rangers make it back-to-back wins with a 4-3 victory. They'll look to take the series against the Rays tomorrow at 1:35 p.m. Let's head up to Minnesota, where the Astros were looking to get back-to-back wins against the Twins. Alex Bregman with a big hit, getting the Astros on the board to make it a 5-1 game in the top of the 3rd inning. Then in the 4th, John Singleton just knew this one was gone. A 406-footer out to right center, trying to cut into the Twins' big lead, but this one was all dudes in blue as the Twins would go on to win it 9-3. The series tiebreaker is tomorrow at 1:10 p.m. And back here in town, the San Antonio Missions were in a very long weather delay, which resulted in a game getting canceled tonight. Tickets for tonight's game can be refunded for a regular season game later on in the schedule. The Missions game came into this game on a season-high 6-game winning streak. They'll have tomorrow off, then start a brand new series against the Amarillo Sod Poodles next week. So a lot of stuff going on around town. I know a lot of fans are hoping to see that game tonight, but it's better you just get home and safe when it comes to everything else that's going on around here with weather. So.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Nick. We'll be right back.
Starting off tomorrow in the mid-70s before highs reach for the upper 90s, all as we monitor Beryl. Again, the heaviest impacts and the heaviest rain east of San Antonio, but we'll be keeping eyes on it throughout the day.
And don't forget, KSAT will have live coverage from the coast tomorrow in preparation for Beryl. Stay with us on air and online for everything you need to know before the storm strikes. We'll see you on GMSA at 6.